Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, March 4th, 2016. I am Dave Biddle. Happy to be joined by our Alex Gleitman. Alex, wanted to pick your brain about Cam Akers, number 3 running back in the country in the 2017 class, number 36 overall prospect. According to the 24/7 Sports Composite, he's from Clinton, Mississippi. High 4-star, really knocking on the door to be a 5-star recruit. What is the latest with Cam Akers?
Cam today, he was committed to Alabama for a while and decided to open things back up and decommit. And, you know, a lot of people are speculating that Ole Miss and Georgia right now are probably the 2 favorites to land him. It's very, you know, it's not very often where you see a kid decommit and then recommit to that same school. It does happen from time to time. Ohio State Hoops has some experience in that with Mickey Mitchell. And, you know, there have been other times throughout both football and basketball that it does happen. But it's very rare. So Georgia and Ole Miss right now are the perceived favorites. That said, Cam Akers, he was at Friday Night Lights last summer at Ohio State. He's making a second trip on his own dime, coming up with his mother from Mississippi next week, March 7th and 8th. So those are going to be, you know, pretty big visits for Ohio State as far as, you know, figuring out where they stand in the mix for Cam Akers. I think they actually can be a pretty serious player. I think they want to add another running back outside of Todd Sibley to the class. So, you know, the number 38 or 36 player in the composite, actually, number 38 player per 24/7 Sports in the country, and number 3 running back per the composite, Cam Akers. I mean, Ohio State really could find themselves right in the mix for the Mississippi native.
I tell you what, you look at Urban Meyer's first 4 years at Ohio State, it makes running back recruiting a very easy sell when you look at the 2 years of Carlos Hyde, and then especially the 2 years of Ezekiel Elliott as a starting running back. It was funny, Urban always to bristle at this so much. He took so many questions about, you know, you never had a 1,000-yard running back, and then now he's had 3 straight. Carlos Hyde barely missing it his first year in 2012, and then Carlos Hyde surpassing it and then some in 2013. Then, of course, Ezekiel Elliott going over 1,800 yards the last 2 years. I imagine that really helps when you're talking about trying to land the best running backs in the country. That being said, Cam Akers still seems like a long shot to me, considering he's a kid from Mississippi. Would you consider him a long shot, or is that not exactly accurate?
You know, I wouldn't say long shot. When a kid from Mississippi has been to your campus before, is taking another visit on his own dime, bringing up his mother this time, I think it's not a long shot. I would say uphill battle maybe, perhaps. You know, you got, again, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Auburn. These are the schools you hear mentioned. They're obviously closer to home than Ohio State. They're in the SEC, where, you know, you'd probably figure if you took, you know, everything off the surface and said, where's Cam Akers, what conference is Cam Akers going to land before his recruitment started, you'd probably guess the SEC, just in the prestige of the conference right now in the landscape of college football. But again, second visit on his own dime to Ohio State. I won't be surprised if an official visit also happens, or maybe another visit this summer. So I wouldn't say long shot. I would definitely say, you know, I don't think they're the leader. It's probably an uphill battle, but I think they're firmly in the mix, and probably even more so than people think.
Yeah, and Urban Meyer's recent history at Ohio State can only help the situation, I would have to think. Okay, now tell me if this young man is a long shot. Now let's move to the 2018 class, Xavier Thomas. Our Bill collected a story about him for the site yesterday. Xavier Thomas is the number 2 strong side defensive end in the country. Number 4 overall player in the country in the 2018 class. Kids that are just sophomores in high school right now. This was the 12th offer that Xavier Thomas has picked up. He's 6'3", 242 pounds. He's out of Florence, South Carolina. So same question. Long shot here for the Buckeyes or no?
I'd say longer shot than Cam Akers right now. I mean, kid from South Carolina. Clemson's offered. South Carolina's offered. Those 2 lead the crystal ball with 43% apiece, with Florida State having the other. But it's early. Again, though, you know, not close to home is Ohio State. He's from South Carolina, so likelihood he probably stays in the South. But he did tell Bill yesterday, and the day before. Bill actually did 2 articles on him. that he was interested before he got the offer. He was very interested in Ohio State. He's been getting mail. He really liked Urban Meyer. He was interested in getting that offer. Now he has the offer in hand. Let's see what he does. Does he visit? I think, with kids from the South, actions speak louder than words. So if he comes up, makes a visit this spring, this summer, Ohio State's firmly in the ball game. If it kind of lingers a little bit and kind of goes into the next offseason, I think it's a long shot. So right now, long shot, but let's see how this one goes.
Staying with the long shot vibe here, Will Grier, former Florida quarterback, is of course transferring. He's weighing his options. He visited West Virginia on Wednesday, and there's a report about that circulating on the interwebs. And in one of those reports was something about, he visited West Virginia. Oh, he's visited many other schools. He's met with, Miami of Florida. He's met with Ohio State. And people are like, oh, that's interesting. Is Will Grier interested in transferring to Ohio State? Is Ohio State interested in Will Grier? I'll give my take in a second. And I need to cite the Gainesville Sun. It was a reporter from the Gainesville Sun on Twitter that put this out there, that Will Grier has met with Ohio State and many others. Alex, what chance do you give Will Grier of ending up at Ohio State?
I don't see it happening. I mean, I think Ohio State is always keeping their options open, but I think they feel they're in a pretty good spot. They probably feel that they have J.T. Barrett for another, at least, they obviously have him for at least one more year, but I think they'll have him for another 2 years. They have Joe Burrow behind him. They have Dwayne Haskins behind him, and right now they have Danny Carr committed behind him. So, I don't see. Of course, you want, if they don't feel that Joe Burrow or Dwayne Haskins are ready to take the starting position after J.T. Barrett, maybe you do go after a transfer like a Will Grier, but I don't think that they feel that way. I think they think either Burrow or Haskins will be ready to take the gig. Of course, they have Stephen Collier on the roster as well. I should not forget him. Apologies on that. But if they don't feel one of those guys are ready, maybe they do go after a guy like Grier, but I just don't see that happening. I think he ends up somewhere else where the path of playing time is more clear. He's almost guaranteed a roster spot, a starting spot on a roster, and I just don't see that being Ohio State.
I agree with you 100%. I'm not buying this at all. I just look at this as Urban Meyer just leaving no stone unturned, and credit to him for that. If they did, in fact, meet, maybe he just did touch base with him just to make sure, and that's just Urban Meyer and his staff, probably Mark Pantoni. Again, if there is anything to this report, just doing their job and being thorough. But I would be shocked, to say the least, if Will Grier ends up at Ohio State. I tend to think West Virginia is a very good fit for both sides. And Will Grier will have to sit out the 2016 season, and then he'll miss half of the 2017 season, because as people will remember, as a redshirt freshman at Florida this past year, he was suspended halfway through the year for performance-enhancing drugs, played in 6 games, was suspended a full year, meaning he had to miss the last half of this past season, and then will miss the first 6 games of whenever he's eligible again, which will be beginning in the 2017 season. So he has 1.5 years eligibility left. We'll see what happens. I do not think he will end up at Ohio State. I think he'll end up at West Virginia or maybe somewhere else. Alex, you did a really cool story for yesterday looking at Ohio recruits in the 2017 class, young men from Ohio in the 2017 class. Ohio State already has 6 commitments from the state of Ohio in their 2017 class. That's half of the class. They have 12 commitments in the class, number 1 class in the nation, and half are from the Buckeye State. So much for Urban Meyer. When he first came in, people were worried maybe he wouldn't focus enough on Ohio and would recruit too much nationally. So much for that. Let's not even focus on the 6 guys already in the class. Talk about the top guys that are uncommitted from the state of Ohio in the 2017 class who Ohio State really wants.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you have to start with the number 3 player in Ohio per the composite. Ohio State obviously has the first 2 already committed in Josh Myers and Marcus Williamson. But the number 3 player, Jalen Harris, wide receiver, Cleveland Heights, this is a kid they absolutely want. The crystal ball is 100% to Ohio State. They're the heavy favorites here. There are some rumors he may have silently committed to the staff on his junior day visit at the end of January. I think it's kind of a when, not if deal with Jalen Harris, and I expect him to be a Buckeye probably sometime in the summer, maybe the spring game if he makes it down there for that. I think another guy you have to look at, the number 6 player in the composite, a lot higher, 24/7 actually bumped him up to number 86 overall in the country, is Amir Reep from Coleraine, cornerback, safety, just a long, athletic defensive back, the kind of player that everyone in the country is really looking for, but that really fits the scheme that Chris Ash and now Greg Schiano will run very well. He's a long, lengthy player with speed, can kind of play either defensive back position, and that versatility is what Ohio State's looking for. I think Amir is going to be a Buckeye as well, probably sometime this spring. He's blowing up. It seems like he gets a new offer or two every single day. Outside of that, I think, a couple of guys to keep an eye on. Probably Javonte Richardson, an athlete from Maple Heights, same high school as Kier Hawkins, who signed with the 2016 class. He's a guy who can probably play, linebacker, safety, tight end, H-back. Who knows, possibly even grow into a weak side defensive end one day. Very similar type player to Malik Harrison in terms of that he brings versatility. And because of guys like Malik Harrison, like Darren Lee, I could see a very similar situation for Javonte Richardson. And then the other guy I think you need to look at is Danny Davis, wide receiver from Springfield. In any other year, he'd probably be an automatic offer guy and probably would have been committed to the Buckeyes already at this point. But with Trevon Grimes, Jalen Harris, Tyjon Lindsey, Donovan Peoples-Jones still on the board, I think they're going to take their time with this one. And the final guys I want to touch on, I think Ohio State is going to get a tight end in the class of 2017 from the state of Ohio. Matt Dodson from Archbishop Moeller in Cincinnati is definitely one candidate. Trey Pugh from Plain City, Jonathan Alter is another. And it's Charles Reeves from Steubenville. I think one of those three guys is going to be your tight end in this Ohio State class of 2017. Right now, I got Trey Pugh as my pick for that pick. I think he's just super athletic. He's kind of cut. I know I hate comparing anyone to Aaron Hernandez right now, but he's kind of cut into that mold where he's kind of that hybrid tight end wide receiver type, very athletic, can match up, beat linebackers with his speed and beat defensive backs with his size. So I think an athletic freak like Trey Pugh fits the scheme perfectly, and that's going to be my guy. But I'd watch for all three of those tight ends. One of them I think is going to end up in the class.
Yeah, that's a fine and kangaroo court for bringing up Aaron Hernandez here on the show.
I'll take it. It's tough, but I mean, Aaron Hernandez was a really good college football player and a very good NFL player before, you got into kind of all that off-field stuff. So
I don't want to hear you comparing any running backs to O.J. Simpson in the near future, sir. Okay.
I think we'll pass on that. We only stick to Florida Gators. Aaron Hernandez, Percy Harvin. Maybe we'll get a Tim Tebow comparison sometime soon. I don't know, but we'll stick with Gators. I think O.J. he was a Trojan, so I don't think we have to worry about that.
Yes, he was. And the Buckeyes took him down in the 1968, what really was the national championship game, the 69 Rose Bowl, and the first of many failures for O.J. to come. So, all right, here we go. Ohio State basketball, high noon tomorrow, ESPN, at Michigan State. Of all games where they really need to win, they go at Michigan State. Alex, what, if any, chances do you give the Buckeyes of pulling the upset tomorrow?
It's going to be real tough. I think Ohio State was embarrassed last time out against Michigan State. It was the first game without Jayshawn Tate, who not only is a starter but is a leader on this basketball team. And they were in that game, and they could have won that game, but it kind of slipped away from them, and it almost seemed like they kind of gave up on it a little bit. And they were embarrassed. I think the final margin was 19 points. So I think they come into this one a lot more energized, a lot of preparation, a week between games, and I think they're gonna give it their best effort, but I think they're gonna fall a little short. I'm calling Michigan State in a close game.
Yeah, I give the Buckeyes about a 5 to 10% chance at pulling the upset. I feel like I'm being generous there, 5 to 10%. I mean, I feel like maybe I should go with like 1 to 2%, but I will give the Buckeyes about a 5 to 10% chance at pulling the upset.
I'd go a little bit higher than that. I think, watching them play Michigan State last time until the end where it kind of spun out of control, I just thought that they were playing good. I thought they could have won the game. And they just, like a young team, they kind of just let it get out of control. So I think with a little bit more focus and a little bit more motivation behind them, not only to kind of avenge their terrible loss last time, but also with the opportunity knowing that if they win this, they pretty much put themselves, I think, in the tournament picture as far as being, last four in with destiny in their own hands at that point. I think they're gonna play very well. I think they're gonna potentially have a chance to win the game. Now, again, I would probably say 75-25, 80-20, but I think it's a little higher than 5 to 10.
Interesting. I thought I was being very kind saying 5 to 10. I wasn't saying 0.5%. I was saying 5% to 10%. So I thought I was being kind. You think they have a better chance at that? And I do agree that if they win this game, they're in. If they go 12-6 in the Big Ten, I know, most of their wins in the Big Ten have been, pretty, let's say non-quality wins, to put it kindly. But if they have wins over Michigan State, Iowa, Michigan, and Kentucky, they go 12-6 in the Big Ten. They're in the tournament, in my opinion. But I was being kind with 5 to 10%. I thought you're saying maybe more like 20 to 25%. I like the way you're thinking. I disagree with you, but I like the way you're thinking.
I mean, I guess maybe I'm more optimistic than others. I don't think Michigan State poses that bad of matchup problems with Ohio State, and I think, if they could get a little hot, they got a shot. I like the way they played them for the majority of that game, again, until things spun away. So we'll see tomorrow, but I think it's going to be a good one either way.
Not having Jayshawn Tate's going to hurt. I know Mickey Mitchell played well this last game against Iowa, but, man, if he can come anywhere near replicating that performance, that'll be huge, but I don't see it happening. Hey, at least they have a chance. You're telling me there's a chance. So, again, noon tomorrow on ESPN in East Lansing, Ohio State at Michigan State. Great stuff from Alex Gleitman on the football front and the basketball front. Thank you very much, Alex.
Thanks for having me on, Dave. Always a pleasure. Happy Friday, everyone.
Yep, thanks to everybody for listening. Hope you have a great day and a great weekend.